Hey everybody, I'm RYAND. I am a record producer. I produce music. I'm a hip hop artist. I make music. When I was younger, and even before I was even thought of, my dad was a DJ. He used to DJ around Melbourne a lot and stuff like that. And um, my mum and I have cousins who are in bands and groups. So music has always been a thing that's been involved around my life growing up. And when I would go over to my cousin's house, they'll be playing like Eminem or 50 Cent. But then when it was like coming back to my own house, my dad had Bruce Springsteen playing, or AC/DC or Kiss or the Dixie Chicks. And so I really grew up on like a variety of music. But come in 2010, when Eminem dropped the Recovery album and he dropped Not Afraid, that was one thing that really, that's when I was really like, oh, I can do this. So from year 7 to year 12, it was just doing music. I wouldn't study for any exams or SACs or do any assessments because I was just like so focused on music. And when I was in halfway through year 7, I remember my teacher, when I gave him my work, my teacher was like, "What are all these lyrics? Like, why do you have all these lyrics down?" And I was like, "I don't know." Like, I couldn't even explain why. Like, it's just like every time like I would have a pen and paper in front of me, I had to write down lyrics. Like, it was just a thing. So music's always been involved in my life, and it wasn't really until grade 6, year 7 was when I really was like, yo, I can do this. You know what I mean? So I got in 2018, I linked up with a producer in Bendigo who goes by the name of Kibbs, and he's in a hip hop group called Jake and the Fat Man. And he's taught me everything about producing, writing, the whole craft, everything. And I've read a lot of books about rap music. I've watched documentaries about hip hop. I've watched a lot of interviews from other rappers such as Kanye West and stuff like that. So I really became in this thing of like hip hop is my life, and it has saved me so many times from so much stuff. So yeah, that's why I chose to become a hip hop artist. This is why I chose to, produce music and stuff, because looking up to, like Eminem and Slaughterhouse and 50 Cent and Tupac and Biggie and stuff, the way how they would write and bend words and pronounce words so they can fit in with the beat. Like, I was just so inspired to do that. And I was like, this is freaking amazing, because it's not just the rapping, and it's not just using the vocals, and it's not just the hip hop, it's the whole word craft and the way how they bend words and pronounce words and use it to fit in with the beat. Like, I just got so into it, and then learning about what, in terms of the producing, learning about what Dr. Dre and even Kanye West and Jay-Z was doing with their production in their music. Like, I was just so mind blown. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, how are they doing this? So it's like I really started studying hip hop, and I guess I became a student in a way. So yeah, that's what made me do hip hop.
That's awesome. That's it's great that you had such great influences too, and that you were able to connect with people, because it's such a huge community. And like, going back to your music, just to name a few of your songs, Restless for Back to the Trains Again. That's it, Back to the Trains Again.
That's the
All right,
time.
yeah. And then Crawling Back to You. But one song that I want to talk about is So Cold. So this talks about your mental health. You did just release a song 3 days ago called The Lessons, and we'll come back to that. But I want to talk about So Cold. So in it, you talk about, I actually really love that song. You talk about mental health and bullying and stuff. Can you tell us a bit more
Yeah.
about that? Because that's
So
really good, that song.
funny thing is, I when I first heard the chorus sample for So Cold, I think it was at the start of COVID. And I was, when I first heard it, I was like, yo, this is dope. Like, I need to do something with it. And my cousin, we started writing lyrics down and stuff. And, I was like figuring out, like, how can I make this song be so meaningful and match it to the chorus? So that's what I was trying to work out. And it wasn't until last year that I finally wrote down the full song. And when I was writing the song, I wanted to talk about, my mental health. I wanted to talk about what it's like having autism. I wanted to talk about what I went through during school when it comes to bullying, and also, what my mum must have been thinking when she seen me going through this, and what my stepdad at the time must have been thinking, and how everyone was proceeding me, because I went through a stage where it got to the point where I was too scared to even go to school, like, and mum didn't even know what was going on. And I finally opened up to her and I was like, I'm getting bullied at school and I can't handle this. And I remember breaking down crying, and mum actually spoke to the teachers at the school and stuff, and we got it arranged. But that's why, like, when you listen to that song and you hear that lyric where I talk about, mum doesn't know what's going on with his little boy no more. Yeah, so when I talk about that, like, that was the whole process, you know what I mean? And when it comes to writing a song, for me, I have to, it's like writing a book. Like, I have to go from, like, this is a start, and you know what I mean, then I have to go from the ending. So it's like, at the start it was talking a lot about that mental health and what I went through with learning disabilities and bullying, and going through family abuse and stuff like that when I was growing up, to you know come and hit into the end of the song. It's like, okay, this is where I'm at and this is what I went through, so So Cold was a song that really touched base, and I guess in a way really hit home for me, because like explaining that story of when I was growing up and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more? Because I know that this is something that you and I both wanted to talk about, because we spoke about this off camera a little bit. You wanted to dive a bit more into your mental health and autism, and so what's it like being a hip hop artist and having autism and going through the motions of writing lyrics and the beats and everything, and how does that all fit together, and how does that.
It's a mess around. It's a mess around. I'm guess I'm pretty lucky, like, I struggle day to day. I'm affected every day with my autism. Struggled a lot in school as well. I can't even work out a simple, you know, problem. If the teacher was like writing on the board, like, all the other kids would get it, and I'd be like, okay, cool. But for me, it was just like mumbo jumbo, and it's like, for me, like, I can't process um information. I can't um like explain information properly, and I'll jumble on my words a bit and stuff. And I have a lot of sensory problems. Like, I can't cook, and the reason why I can't cook is because, like, I don't like the touch of some food. I don't like bacon and eggs because I hate the texture in my mouth. I can't stand it. I hate the smell of it. I don't like mixing food because, when I get stuff on my hands, like, it really triggers me. But I think when I left school, like, it was, for me, it was like, damn, like, what am I gonna do? Like, like, I'm so triggered by everything, But then when I realized that, hold up, I'm good at music, and music is probably my biggest strength. It's like, it's like I wanted to do it. And when I'm so focused on something that I want to do, I don't stop, and I don't know when to stop, you know? It's like, you know, and like there's been a couple of times where you know, like I worked out last year from March last year to December, I was doing 56 hours of music. And there were some weeks where I was pushing 78 hours. And it was just crazy. Like when I'm so focused on something, I don't know when to pull myself back and go, yo, you need a break. Like I don't know when to do that, you know? So it's like, I guess in a way, like what I was saying before, like hip hop has saved my life, and hip hop has taught me as well to manage my life a little bit better. And you know, because learning about the business side of it and learning about, you know, payments and, you know, how record labels are run and how to, you know, run this and do that, like hip hop has taught me so much of that. And you know, doing music in general, not just hip hop, but like just music in general, like it's just helped me out so much, and it's kept me calm. And you know, a lot of the artists that I look up to have learning disabilities as well. Like Eminem, for example, he's got Asperger's, you know, so it's like, and he spoke about that in some of his songs. And Ed Sheeran, like when he was born, he had a stutter.
Oh, wow.
So like he had to like learn to develop like talking properly without stuttering, you know, and he did that through music. And you know, there's so many like artists out there and bands out there, you know, who have, you know, learning difficulties and stuff. And you know, I was talking to Grilly, who is like a massive Australian icon in hip hop. I was talking to Grilly the other week, and you know, even he was saying he's got ADHD. So some days for him are just like full on, but you know, he just needs to learn to back himself off. But when it comes to him doing hip hop, it's like he can use that ADHD to his advantage. You know, like he can. That's when he makes the best stuff. You know, so I guess for me, when it comes to my autism, like I sort of become a bit of a, I guess, perfectionist when it comes to me wanting to do something. So my autism has made me become better when it comes to my music. You know, it's like when I'm producing or when I'm like doing drum patterns or whatever, it's like I know that I can be like, yo, like this is cool, but I can make this better, and I focus on it, you know. So I guess in a way it's a gift and a curse, I guess.
Like most things in life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So with your thanks for speaking so open about that, because a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of stigma, I think, still around autism, and it's really great that people like yourself do talk about it openly in a public forum, because I think there needs to be a lot more awareness for it. So just on awareness, can we talk about some of your songs you talk about addiction? So can we
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, hell yeah. So like excited. Addiction, like I think I would have been 17 years old going on 18. That's when I picked up drugs and alcohol. And point where it got to the point where it's like if I didn't have any money, like I would do absolutely whatever to get the drugs and alcohol. Like it got really bad to the point where like me and my mates would like be going to the bottle shops when they would close and going through their bins trying to find like the last bit of alcohol, like, you know. And it got to the point where, you know, we would be trading in our own clothes or, you know, our own equipment just to get a gram of weed, like, you know, or like coke or speed or whatever. Like it just got to the point where it was like really bad. And then when I when I actually got to year 12, that's when I was like, okay, like I need to stop this. Enough's enough. Like I've got to graduate. I've got to pull my head in. I've got to make my mum proud. I've got to make my family proud. So I actually ended up being sober for about two to 3 years, and I actually tried to be sober without anyone's help. So I didn't tell my doctor, I didn't tell my mum or anyone. I was just like, I can do this. This is what I'm doing. But two to 3 years later, I ended up picking up the alcohol again, and that one sip of alcohol, to me, I was like, oh, it's just one drink, like that's fine, I'll be right. But I then got to the point where I was started drinking. It was like every second weekend, and then it was every weekend, and then it started slowly becoming, like every third day. Um, and come 2019, I actually overdosed on 32 pills and 3 bottles of alcohol. And the doctors, even today, even the counselors, everyone today even says that I'm lucky to be alive. Um, they've said that I shouldn't be alive, or I should be a vegetable, or I should be in bad chronic pain. So I guess I'm thankful that I'm still alive, but I ended up going to the Bendigo psych ward. I went to Bendigo Y Park, which is like a rehab facility for young people. Because at the time I would have been 21, 22. And, I ended up getting sober then. And then I think I was sober for 6 months. Then I'd have a relapse, get sober again, then have a relapse 6 months later. Like it was just constantly up and down. But 22 months ago, when my great uncle passed away, I had my last drink. I got drunk for the very last time, and I woke up the next morning, and by then everyone was trying to help me get off the drugs and the alcohol. They're like, you need to stop, like something's got to change, like you're going downhill, you never got money, and when you're in that mindset, it's like, yeah, whatever, like I don't need help, I'm fine. But when my great uncle passed away, it just when I drank for the last time, when I woke up the next morning on the Friday, my support worker had come around, and my support worker, she stood out my bedroom door because I was still in bed, and she said to me, she's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine, I'm all good." And she's like, "Okay, cool. Well, today we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And then she's like, "Are you sure you're all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." Trying to hold back tears. And she was like, "Nah, something's up. Like, what's going on?" And I just said to her, like, my great uncle passed away last night, and I just broke down in tears. And then she came and sat next to me. She gave me a hug, and I was just like crying on her shoulder, like in tears. And I was like, I need help. Like, I was like, help me. Like, this is, and she was like, do you actually want the help this time? And I was like, yes, like, I need the help. And she's like, we've been trying to help you for months and you've been ignoring us. Do you want the help this time or not? She's like, I'm going to help you, but if you mess us around, like, that's it. And I was like, no, I want the help. Like, I need freaking help. Like, help me. And then she just gave me a hug and she's like, all right, let's do this. So I contacted my uncle at the Nurunda Aboriginal Corporation here in Echuca. I contacted him and I was like, hey, I spoke to him and he had heard about, my uncle passing away as well. And, he came around and checked up on me. And I said to him, I want to get sober. He helped me out. And then I contacted a mate of mine who was in NA and AA. And, I ran him up and I was like, I need help. And he's like, what's going on? And I said to him, how'd you get off the alcohol? How'd you get off the drugs? And he said, I went through detox and rehab. And I was like, shit, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to, go to rehab. But he said to me, he's like, look, I'll take you to the NA meetings for 3 weeks. And if you're still feeling like crap, if you're still not getting it, I'll put you in rehab on my request. I hang out with him every day for 4 months, every day, hanging out with him. Breakfast, lunch, tea, met his parents, met his kids, hang out with him every day. And yeah, now I'm over 22 months sober and I'm killing it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Such an achievement.
Oh,
So,
yeah. It's a big achievement. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I've had a lot of up and downs, and my mental health plays a big role in that as well. Yeah, like, there are times where, like, if I get anxious or depressed or nervous, it's like, oh, I could really go for a drink right now. I could really have a joint right now. There's so many times where, like, I get that, but then I have to keep saying to myself, like, one's, not enough and the thousand's not enough. One's too many, a thousand's not enough. So I keep telling myself that, and I keep telling myself, if I pick up, I'm not going to see Christmas. Like, the rest, if I pick up, the rest of my days are just going to be intoxicated. There's going to be nothing there for me. There's going to be no music done. There's going to be nothing, So, when it comes to sobriety, like, mental health plays a big role in that as well. But just staying connected with people who are sober and cutting all of your friends off that do the drugs and alcohol, cutting all them off, staying connected to people who are actually in NA and AA, staying connected with them and making sure that, you always contact them when stuff goes downhill. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been working. So, and the best part about it is, when I did get sober, for about 3 months, I didn't have a connection with my mum. Me and mum stopped talking completely. And on my birthday, mum sends me $50 out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, this $50, I know what I could do with this. But instead, I was like, nah, I'm just going to buy me and my roommate at the time. I was like, I'm going to buy us Maccas, and with the rest of the money that I had left, I just put it in the savings. So, and then me and my mum started talking, on my birthday, and me and mum's relationship has just gotten stronger and stronger. And I don't hide anything from my mum now. It's great. Like, if I got something going on with me, it's like I just tell mum, and then mum goes, "Okay, well, this is what I think you should do." And instead of me arguing with her, it's like I really take in what she's saying. I really sit there and I go, yeah, like, mum might be right. I'm going to try doing this. So, I really take in a lot, and our relationship has just improved so much. And I've made a lot of like amends with people who I've hurt when I was, in addiction, family and friends. I hurt a lot of people. I abused a lot of people. I hurt people mentally. I, you know, did a lot of stuff to a lot of people. So when I got sober, the biggest thing I had to do was apologize to those people and gain back their trust, and that was the biggest sin. And it doesn't happen over time. Like, it's not like I can go up to someone who I hurt and be like, I'm sorry, and then bang, trust is back. Like, this could take weeks, this could take months, this could take years. Some people have, it's taken some people like 10, 15 years to even gain trust back from their family members. So it's such a massive thing, but now everything's starting to fall into place. you know um I looked after my little cousin, a couple of months ago. He was here. We played video games on the PlayStation. And my auntie messaged me that night, and she was like, "Thank you so much for looking after him. I really appreciate it." You know what I mean? And it's like, for me, I was like, damn, like this trust and respect is coming back, like everything's fallen into place, you know? So it's like, I've had like a lot of stuff happen to me during my sobriety, but at the same time, whether I go up or down, as long as I don't pick up, as long as I can wake up sober, go to bed sober, it's honestly the greatest gift, not only for myself, but it's the greatest gift that you can give people. You know, it's the greatest gift I can give to my mum, knowing that my mum knows that, yes, my son went to bed sober. Like, it's a better gift than a birthday present. It's a better gift than Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, it's the best gift I can give to my mum. If my mum has trust in me and my friends and family have trust in me to be sober, and I have trust in myself to be sober, it is honestly the biggest, bestest thing in the whole entire world. So yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And mums are pretty special.
Oh, 100%.
Thanks again so much for going into so much detail, because like addiction's hard. I've overcome some addictions myself, so it's really difficult to speak about it too. But
Yeah, definitely.
you know, when people like yourself open up and talk about addiction, hopefully it helps other people listening, and helps people feel like they're not alone, because I know sometimes, a lot of the times, you can feel so alone and lost, and but to see the other side of that, and see you glowing is just amazing. You know, it's just amazing. But going back to your song, The Lessons. So that came out 3 days ago. And it's an awesome song, and it's a promo track for your next album, Excuses. Is that right? Which comes out March
How
25th.
did you know? Yeah,
So
no,
tell us about that.
yeah. So the lessons was when I was doing the song, like the song doesn't really mean anything or anything. It's sort of just letting people know what's going on with my life now. And, you know, it's sort of, I guess in a way, sort of me bragging about my life in a way, I guess you could say. But when I was sitting on the couch one day and I had this like piano chord progression in my head, and I was just like, it's just in my head, and I was like, I've got to get this out. Like, I've got to do something with this. So I went straight in the studio, and I started laying down some piano chords, and I was like, okay, this is kind of dope. This is cool. But then I was like, I need a piano melody over those chord progressions. So I did that, got the piano down, and I was like, I know what I'm going to do with this. I've already got something in my head. Let's go. You know what I mean? And I think I spent all up. I think I spent about 2 to 3 months working on lessons all up. Just producing it, recording it, trying to make sure the lyrics fit right, like everything. So yeah, and I originally, with my promo tracks, I usually only put them up on YouTube and SoundCloud, but I felt like this was a track that had to be up on everywhere, had to be up on iTunes, had to be up on Spotify, had to be up like everywhere. So, and I wanted to release it as a single. So, when I finished the track and I heard back, and I was listening to it and stuff, and I was like, yo, this is dope. Like, I need a video for this. So I linked up with the people who shot my video for Restless 4. They actually came from Adelaide, all the way to Echuca, and they, we hanged out for a bit and stuff, and yeah, we got filming. But the one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to represent Echuca a bit more in this video, and represent where I came from, and represent like, who, like, where I come from. These are my people, sort of thing. So it was sort of like a last minute thing, but I went on Facebook and I was like, who wants to be in a music video? You know what I mean? So I was lucky enough to have you know, three of my mates, they all put up their hand and they're like, we're down. So I was like, sweet, meet at this time. This is what we're doing. So yeah, when we shot at the new under the New Mimer Bridge, Strive Media got some drone footage, and then we sort of had to walk around under the bridge and stuff to see where we can shoot. And yeah, my mates came down and we got straight into it, and it was freaking amazing, you know. So yeah, the lessons like is sort of just a song in a way about me bragging about my life right now and sort of where it is, and I guess in a way being cocky.
Well, from the journey that you've had, it's definitely worth bragging about. From
Oh, definitely.
where you are now.
Yeah, definitely. I was sort of trying to go because when it comes to Aussie hip hop, like my biggest inspirations are Hilltop Hoods, Bless and SO, Cursor, 360, Grilly, Antar, like name off so many people. But when it came to doing lessons, I wanted to sort of, especially with the video, like I wanted to sort of go with a bit of a Cursor vibe. So, you know, I was taking a lot of Cursor's inspiration and sort of putting it in the song, and it worked out amazing and it was incredible and I loved it and it's dope as hell.
So you wrote a song called "If I Would Have Known." So tell us a little bit about that.
So so I was laying in bed one night as everybody does. I was going on just flicking through like YouTube and Instagram and stuff, and I kept seeing this song called "If I Would Have Known," and um, you know that song right there. Like every time I hear it, it's like I think about the people who are not with me today. Um, because that's what the whole song about. Like the original artist, Kyle Hume, Kyle Hume, I believe that's his name. Um, the original artist of that song, like he wrote that because someone in his life had passed away. So he wrote that for them, and he wrote that for people who have lost people. So he's sort of targeting that loss and grief audience, and I kept hearing that song everywhere, and I was like, damn, like I need to do something with this song. And I ended up like getting the sample and I got the piano and I got the vocals, and I put it in FL Studio and I was just sitting there and I was thinking about it, listening to the chord progression, and I started to notice that it was my mate's, um, you know, second year, year death anniversary coming up, and he had, been passed away for about a year, and I started thinking about, him, and I started thinking about my grandparents and stuff, but I was thinking about him the most, and you know, I just started writing down the lyrics, getting the lyrics down, and I wrote the whole song. And going back to my autism being perfection when it comes to music, like with this song, I wanted it to be good. I wanted there to be emotions when I was rapping. I wanted there to be like everything. I was just like so focused on this song. I was like, this needs to be perfect. Like this needs to have the perfect lyrics, the perfect beat, everything. Like everything has to be perfect. So, but it was really hard writing the song as well because my mate Wade, he came to a bit of a shock. Um, like we would speak on social media and like we respected each other musically because he was a rapper. Like he's on Spotify and stuff, and he's recorded all his own music. He did everything himself. So the respect that I had for him and the respect that he had for me, it was just unbearable. Like, we just respected each other so friggin' much. And I was organizing, this little cipher for me and a lot of people who did hip hop in Echuca. I was organizing like a cipher, so for everyone to get on a song. And I asked my mate, Brandon Mackerel, I was like, hey, do you want to get on the song? He's like, dope, let's do it. And then I asked my cousin Peggers, do we need to do this? And he's like, dope, let's do it. He's like, I'll talk to Wade. And I was like, sick, let's do it. And everyone that I asked all said yes. And I was just waiting on Wade to, have that, yes, to have that say. And, I was waiting, and I was like, okay, this is going to happen. I'm hoping this will happen. And I woke up one morning, it was about a week later, I woke up one morning and my mate had sent me a message and he's like, just saying, if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, cool. But I was like confused at the same time because I was like, why the hell are you saying this? And he's like, just want to know, like, I love you. If you ever need anything, here for you. And I was like, thanks, same goes. And he's like, you're all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. What's going on? And he's like, have you spoken to your cousin Peggers? Because Peggers was very, 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 very close with Wade. Like, I'm talking like they were always around each other, like very close. And, he was like, have you spoken to your Peggers? And I was like, no, I haven't spoken to him for a couple of days. And he goes, oh, you might want to check up on him. I'm like, what? And then my mate calls me and he goes, he goes, I can't get a hold of Peggers, but I need you to call Peggers. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, I take it you haven't heard the news. And I was like, what news? Like, I've just woken up. Like, I'm already freaking out because you're saying you love me and stuff. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, what the fuck is the go? And he goes, Wade Freya has passed away. And I was like, oh, what the fuck do you mean? Like, what do you mean he's passed away? Like, and I was just so confused. And he was like, they found him, you know, dead. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, surely it's like someone's just spreaded a rumor or something. Like, surely he's not actually passed because he's always had a smile on his face. He was always happy. He was always like, what the? Like, like he was just this happy, loving, general dude. He just loved everybody that was around him. And, when my mate told me that, I was like, nah, like, this isn't true. I tried calling Peggers, my cousin. I was like trying to call him. He didn't answer. Messaged him. Didn't answer. As soon as I go on Facebook, it's all over Facebook. Rest in peace, Wade. Rest in peace, Wade. Rest in peace, Wade. And like, for me, it was like I didn't know what to do. Like, it's like I wanted to cry, but there were no tears there for me to cry. And I sort of just like sat there and I was just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, and I was like going through that process of, like, how the hell did he die? Because everyone was putting up saying rest in peace, but they weren't like obviously explaining, how he died or anything. And, I was just like sitting there and I was like trying to figure it all out. And, I'm like messaging people like, what the hell's happened? Like, and I messaged my old housemate, and he had just moved to Queensland at the time, and messaged him, and I ran in, and I'm like, bro, like, Wade's passed away, and he was like, what the fuck? Like, he had the same reaction as me, and I was like, bro, like, what the hell do I do? Like, you know, and I was just like freaking out. And I finally got a hold of Pegasus later on that night. Or it might have been the day after. Got a hold of Pegasus and I was like, "You good, bro?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing all right." Um, and by then I could tell that he was down in the ground. Like I could, like his voice was so quiet, it was so soft, and I was like, "Nah, Pegasus ain't right." Called him and I was like, you know, like, "You good? Do you need someone to talk to?" Like, you know, and you know, we got talking and stuff, and you know, I said to Pegasus, I was like, what happened? Like, I don't understand. And you know, Pegasus is like, he, you know, there's plenty of rumors that he overdosed. There's rumors that, you know, he hung himself. And Pegasus is like, I don't want to know exactly what happened, and I don't care. All I know is that Wade has committed suicide. And for me, I was like, seeing someone so happy and smiling every day and just being like, you know, like giving out good vibes, and then waking up one night or one day and just being like they're not here, and just being like, fuck. You know, it was sort of the way how celebrities reacted to Kobe Bryant. That's exactly the way how I reacted to Wade. Like, for me, I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know if I wanted to cry, I didn't know, like, I was in an absolute mess. And the worst part about it is he passed away 8 days before Christmas. That was the worst part. Like, he passed away on possibly the shittest time of the year. And I just, you know, so Christmas for me was shit. Like, it was shit for everyone. It was shit for all my friends. It was shit for family, especially his family. I couldn't process it all. And come Easter last year, um, I went out to the American with a couple of mates, and you know, I ended up running into Peggers, and Peggers was actually sitting with Wade's, um, you know, girlfriend, and you know, they came around, they started talking and stuff, and you know, by then I hadn't met Wade's girlfriend, I hadn't even like spoken to her on social media or anything, so I didn't know who she was. And then Peggers goes, "Oh, this is Kate," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, like nice to meet you." And then Peggers goes, "She's Wade's partner." And when Peggers told me that, like I remember my ears getting water, like my eyes getting watery. I remember my ears just blocked out the noise, and I remember just sort of like choking up, and I didn't know, like I didn't know what to do then, because I was like, do I hug you? Do I say sorry? Like I didn't know what to do, you know? So, and I didn't, and by then, like come Easter, I didn't talk to anyone about Wade. So I didn't have any closure. I couldn't even go to the funeral because I hate going to funerals. I couldn't do it. I had no closure. I didn't know who to talk to. Peggers was the only one that I could talk to, and Peggers didn't even really want to talk about Wade, you know, because Wade was his best mate. And you know, when I finally spoke to Wade's, you know, girlfriend, I got that bit of closure. And you know, I said to her how I felt, and I apologized to her, and I was like, "I'm sorry you have to go through this. Is there anything I can do to help?" You know, and I just really had that closure. And you know, she said the same thing back. She's like, "If do you need anything, like, you know, is there anything I can do?" And you know, when we had that, like, we became really good friends. Some days, you know, it gets me a bit down, and I'll, you know, have a cry, but you know, it just hurts so much. So when it comes to this song, if I would have known, that's what it was about. Like, you know, it was about Wade, and how I felt. And, you know, in the last verse of the song and the last couple of bars, I say this one line where I say, I wish you could have taken anything to keep you alive and our smiles. And that's what I think about, you know, every day, because he loved his wine. He was big on red wine. He loved his wine. And, you know, he would smoke every now and then, you know, but it's sometimes I just feel like when it comes to mental health, like even alcohol or smoking cigarettes or drugs, whatever, like sometimes it's just something that doesn't always help. You know, a lot of people do it to numb the feeling. And looking back on it now, I think that's what Wade was trying to do. And eventually it got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore. So the only way out was his only option. And, you know, for me, like that hurts and it breaks because, you know, for me, like I still get that feeling and that urge where I want to leave and just opt out. You know, I want to leave the world and I want to leave this life. But seeing the impact that Wade had on everybody, especially after his death, like it's just not, it's not, I know it's like the easy way out, but it's not the good thing to do, you know? It leaves a burden on a lot of freaking people. And come that Christmas, like even my mum noticed I was quiet. She noticed I wasn't as happy. Mum said to me, she's like, what's going on? She spoke to me one on one and I said, I've lost my mate, you know, my mate, you know, he committed suicide. And this one thing that my mum told me to do, she said, you know, she said, don't ever mourn the life that he has lived. Celebrate it. I said to my mum, I was like, what do you mean by that? And mum goes, don't, it's okay to sit there and have a cry and it's okay to think about it, but celebrate it by thinking about the good times. Celebrate it by thinking about the laughter, the jokes, the impact that this person had on everybody. Think about it that way. So, you know, when Wade passed away, actually when Wade passed away, I actually did another song called Lifeline, and that was more directed out, you know, people who have passed away in Echuca, because when Wade passed away, that was the third or fourth person in Echuca in just a year that had committed suicide. And this was like starting to be a very big thing in Echuca. And I think COVID had parts to do with it as well, because COVID impacted a lot of people and businesses and stuff like that. But I just knew that when Wade passed away, I had to do this song for everyone in Echuca. But coming up to his like death anniversary, I was like, nah, I've got to do a song that's just based on Wade. So that's what I did, and that's how I came up with the song If I Would Have Known. So yeah.
So on that note, is there any inspiration that you want to put out there for young hip hop artists like yourself or anyone else just in general?
I will say this, like for me, when I was in high school and I said to myself, this is what I want to do, I told so many people that I wanted to be a rapper, and I told the world that I wanted to do music. And I honestly got shitted on for that. So many people didn't believe in me. There were a few people that were like, okay, cool. But a lot of people didn't believe in me. A lot of people thought I was taking it as a joke. They didn't believe in me. They didn't want me to do it. A lot of my family members wanted me to get a normal job. You know, and I've had a couple of normal jobs. Like I've been a kitchen hand before and stuff like that, but like music is just something that I wanted to do. And when I dropped my very first song in 2018 called She Knows, when I dropped that song, I was so scared of the backlash because everyone was, you know, bagging me out for, my dream, and people didn't believe in me. But when I dropped it, I got a bit of attention from that. And, there were a few people that I guess who hated on me, who then started sort of turning the other cheek and being like, yo, all right, not bad. So I started sticking out the craft and I just started getting hated on and hated on, but I didn't listen to anyone. I didn't listen to my family. I didn't listen to my friends. I didn't give a single crap who you are or what you did. If what I was doing made me happy, why would I stop doing it? And when I dropped my second album, Motive, in 2021, that got like 230,000 streams all up on Spotify alone. You know what I mean? And on all music platforms, I nearly got 300K. And when I, showed people at the end of 2021, when I showed people like the numbers and the stats and, this is what I've done, a lot of people have now started respecting what I do. And I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're doing something that you love and you don't listen to anyone and you focus on it and you put in the work and you put in the craft, you put in the hours, like you really start proving a lot of people wrong. And I've even had mates from school even tell me that I was shit, I was whack, I wasn't gonna make it. But ever since 2018, I've now hit like, I don't know, probably like around 500K streams all up, made it on Triple J, produced music for artists over in South Africa and South America, produced music for artists over in Adelaide, Perth, Queensland, around Echuca, like, and I've started making money. And now every time I run into someone, the first question they ask is, when's your next song dropping? When's your next album? When's this? When that? And a lot of these people hated me at first for, they didn't, not so much hate me, but they didn't want me to do this. But now they're like, like when's the next video? When's this? So for me, it's like, at the same time, it's like, I want to belt these people for not respecting me. But then at the same time, it's like, hold up. If you're a fan, then you can help me by making more music and I can help you by having an impact, So base a lot of my music around family abuse and the sexual abuse and drugs and alcohol and violence, and I've got a couple of songs where it's like a bit comedy and a bit controversial and stuff, but they're the audience that I'm targeting. I'm targeting teenagers who are going through depression and anxiety or going through something where they're like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm too scared to, or, like I'm targeting that audience because the biggest thing that I want to see is I want to see people strive. I want to see teenagers, succeed. I want the next generation to be better than the generation beforehand. I want, that's all I want. So I guess what I have to say is, yeah, if you got something that you love and you're happy with doing it, don't ever stop and just keep going and keep pushing, because no amount of person in the world can ever bring you down and drag your dream below your feet. So that's all I have to say.